competitors still. But the lean campaign management from data-driven, from technology, allowed us to win. We were being able to have precision politics. We were able to prioritize our political canvas and laser focus our resources to those prioritized regions and won. Rather than being all over the place and could not make anything happen, but we prioritize on the greens. We have a young constituent. We have an increasing count from the previous elections. 4C, candidate, competitor, constituency, and count. Once I have these criteria, then I could prioritize 160 out of 400 districts. So this is green, this is yellow, which is the swing states, the swing districts, and the red were so conservative that I could never win. And I prioritized my time on that. And I got 151 out of 160, just by being really organized, by being really precise, and being a very lean campaign management organization. And we could do it. And when even that short amount of time in the parliament for about 6 years, I never had to receive a phone call of anyone to vote against my conscience. Like if I took money from for example, the tobacco companies or the pharmaceuticals, like how it is in America or Europe. And if I were to pass a health law or whatever, and then I couldn't vote to my conscience because I have to return to a phone call of the people who have to took the money. We didn't have to do that once. And it felt liberating. And I feel like we have that kind of secret sauce that allows fresh blood to really come in, people who are in the mid-age, and we find ways to really, win an election without breaking bank accounts and taking money from people who we don't want to.
And it made you also very independent.
Independent and autonomous.
So that is great. Can you tell us a little bit about how you chose your candidates? Because I remember in one of the podcasts I heard you were explaining how you picked them. Because it's not easy to pick the right candidate, and you had a very strong candidate base. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think I have to give credit to all the progressive parties. Move Forward Party is part of Progressive Alliance, I think based in Europe. So we look through many political parties that came before us. I think it was Labour Party in New Zealand, for example, and several parties in Germany, for example, of how you avoid internal clash between the grassroots and the central part, the centralized committee in Bangkok. So we had that kind of mechanism from various parts to really decentralize the choosing mechanisms to the grassroots. We gave them maybe guidelines, but we're not going to veto. We're not going to veto that. We want this person against that person because we think you know best of how to represent people from there. That's more of a macro level. But when I have to interview candidates myself, I ask them 3 questions. That's separate candidates who are suitable for the party or who's not suitable for the party, who's in it for merit and status and money rather than to really, bring about change to Thailand. So why politics? So suppose she's interviewing. So why politics? Why politics? And usually if you don't prepare or if you haven't thought it through, they will go in circles. They wouldn't be able to answer that because I think I can and Thailand can. That's in a sentence for me why politics for me. Yeah. And then my second question would be why this party and not other parties? And then they'll just go around in circle again if they haven't really thought about it. Yeah. And then I would have an add-on question. If we don't accept you as a candidate, would you go to the second party next door? And then usually they'll say yes. That's a quick elimination because it's a totally different alignment. Yeah. And the third question would be why now? And not the previous election or the next election, which means they're ready now financially or mentally that, they're 100% in this. But if they said, okay, if this election is not possible, next election is fine because I need to save up some money for my kids' education and things like that. So just these 3 questions, you'll be able to separate candidates rather quickly in the micro level.
You would never choose me. I don't even know how I would answer the first.
There's no judgment, so I can't comment. It depends on your merit, your performance during the interview and meeting things. We have 4 stages, by the way. You have to write essays, or you have to videotape you for 2 minutes, which is the amount of time you have to speak in a parliament. You have that elevator speech, to have that elevator pitch, because once you become a parliamentarian, you have only 2 minutes to speak what you have to speak on behalf of the people. So it's a practice, and you can quickly screen them, and then you have to have a quick internship program. We call it Future Candidates Program, and then you get the interview, and then you become the candidate before the election. So it's a 4-gate stage process within a party.
It's very interesting. I remember that I heard in one of the podcasts that you were in 2023, and I thought that this was so interesting how...
I think it's one of the hardest things to manage a political party. I interned at Merrill Lynch as an investment banker. I worked a couple of years as a management consulting at the Boston Consulting Group. I manage my own company. And private sector and public sector is totally different thing. When it comes to human resources, HR is totally different. They're going to be hard and difficult for sure. But at least you know inside that you're happy inside because you know why you are doing it.
You were talking a lot about this new blood coming into the party. You were also mentioning about the mid-age people coming into the party. But again, as we were talking before, there's many young people that are important and that will be important. What we have seen, the tendency that we have seen all around the world is that young people are disillusioned with politics. So what would you tell a 22, 23-year-old who feels that democracy has failed them? What do you wish someone had told you when you were starting out?
The alternative to that question is giving your future in a silver platter to the autocratic regime. It's the dissolution that you are going through is by design. They are trying to make politics as dirty, as boring, as dramatized as possible. So they pass laws when you look away. So that they're going through all these corruptions of your tax money when you look away. So, if I were to tell myself when I was 22 again, is you have to choose what is right, not what is easy. It's so easy at the age of 22 to be disillusioned by any other things other than politics. You can be disillusioned by making a fortune running private equity firms, or doing IPOs, stocks, or helping companies reduce their costs like how I was. Or you could be disillusioned by nightlife or anything that you want to. Or even the voter fatigue that I was telling you about, the political fatigue that is by design. But to choose what is right is that you have to have that kind of representation that you cannot take for granted. I grew up in New Zealand. I remember the universal suffrage, so that women can vote, started from New Zealand, and it was something that we take for granted, and maybe you are too lazy to go vote, or you have some other appointments to do and you don't want to go vote. But back in the days, it's such a difficult thing that women cannot run in the Boston Marathon or vote in New Zealand. So, what's right is that you have to show up and vote for the candidates that you think align with you the most. If you don't show up and the voting turnout becomes 50%, 60%, that's when the elite will capture the lower house too, because they have captured everything. The only battle they haven't captured is the election, is the lower house. So you have to fight that. And look at, for example, if you are in this region, look at Indonesia during reforms, look at South Korea after the 4 vicious cycle of military coups during the Olympics in Seoul. And finally they have that ability to get out of to break the cycle. And they are being tested, with the current leadership. In South Korea, we had seen, the use of autocratic mechanisms, and the people pushed back and showed up at the full 81%, for example, 82%. So that's the kind of resilience that a 22-year-old should have, and choose what's right and not what's easy.
You're talking about choose what's right. Is there a moment that when you had to choose between being liked and choosing what was right?
Oh, many times. Sticking to our political ideology, even if it's not popular. Talking about human rights and international law during militant time is something that is not easy. Talking against people's perception and fake news and quote mining is never easy, but you just have to have that kind of strength and that kind of ideological grip to explain that even during wartime there's international human rights, there's international law to be thinking about it, and it's not one or the other that you can defend a country with strength and without thinking about peaceful solution for the people of both countries.
We're coming to an end, and I have 2 more questions for you. What gives you hope when things are falling apart?
Younger generation is my power bank, and I get that from Boston a lot by being over there rather than the parliament talking about nonsense. I get to be with the younger generation where I can share and I can learn. I can share with them, I was just like them. I was a student of politics, of public policy in 2008 to 2011. I took those textbooks, planned the campaign, and made it into a reality in Asia. So now it's my time to share the reality into the textbook in 2025. So I have students from Indonesia, students from Colombia, students from Japan, Thailand, Philippines, various places. Like after graduation, I want to run for public office and make a difference. Can you help me? So for me to share, that's something that gives me hope. But at the same time, I can learn. Back in 2011, there was no issue about access to AI, about how to make sure that AI is an equalizer rather than excluder. What are the things that needs to be done to make sure that AI is an equalizer and not an excluder? Those are the questions that affect dialogue and discussion and things like that. And to be able in the room to listen more than talking. Listening more than talking is such a nice liberal verbalization of me, because I was a political party, I was a prime ministerial candidate, so I have to have opinion for everything. I have to respond to things, I have to talk, I have to lead the room, But over there, I can finally sit in a room where I don't have to speak and I can listen because other people know more than I still have my opinions, but I can keep quiet now because there's so many experts in the room, and I can finally learn. Because if you speak, you're repeating what you already know. But if you're listening, which is a harder skill, you are really absorbing and learning new things about public health, about climate crisis, about extreme heat, about the sponge city to take care of the flooding in Mexico and in Thailand. So it's a new things that are coming up that I could learn at the same time. So that's how I plan the next 10 years to share, to learn, and to grow next gen leaders of ASEAN, if not from all over the world. The candidates from Latin America, the question that I get, how much does it cost to start a political party? Because none of them reflect my values. So those kind of things are quite fun to engage with the younger generations.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, that's so, I have to say it's interesting. It's very nice to see someone as humble.
No,
when you ran for prime minister, you won. And you still have this humbleness of listening and learning and understanding that there's so much more.
I feel, that's a present tense, not a past. I feel humble and obsolete, to be honest with you. Why? Because these younger generations are talking things that I don't even understand. And think about, if you have a leader who's like 60 or 70 age in this region that, they have experience. I respect that. But there's good experience and bad experience. And what we are seeing now, since COVID time until now, when the global economy is at its worst in 20 years worldwide, and Thailand is the worst in ASEAN. It's an uncharted territory of how you manage this with the great power rivalry, with the physical terrorists, with things that are going on around the world. I'm not sure if experience alone, without logic, without critical thinking, without the ability to think on your feet and have hypothesis, to have options and verify them, what would be the best options for the nation, is enough. So I felt like, obsolete when I'm in the room and people are talking about things that I never knew about. I mean, I heard about it on the news, but to really go into depth and really detail, and I feel like, okay, I'm in the right room. I mean, I've learned. I'm not speaking at all because I'm keeping my mouth shut. I have no value to add to the room. So it's really an uncharted challenge and also uncharted solutions that these younger generations are coming up with.
Peter, a few weeks ago, you posted on LinkedIn. 2 years went past. 9 years will too.
I did.
You did.
That's how fast, because I don't remember numbers, but I'll try to for it.
With this post, I'm guessing that the fight isn't over. So what's your vision for the next 9 years? For yourself, for Thailand, for the People's Party, particularly as you look ahead to the next election?
A team player. So to continue from the previous answer that I gave you of how I spent my time last year, how I'm spending my time this year, and as a senior democracy fellow at ASH Center. ASH Center is Harvard Kennedy School Center for Democracy, Innovation and Governance and Self-Governance. So they're thinking about new playbook, how Democrats have to refresh their own playbook against autocrats Inc. Nowadays. I mean, all these autocrats, they on a text basis, but for us, we are kind of far apart and we don't get to talk to each other much, and we don't do a lot of things in unity. So to do that, I felt like to be a team player in the sense that next time when I return at the age of 54, I have a bunch of capable younger generation politicians right behind me who will be able to do their job when it comes to public health, environment, labor, human social development, foreign policy, interior, IT, just to have the right person on the right job as a team Thailand, the 9 years. So that's the plan. Yeah, of course, improve myself, but it's not just about me. Yeah, I can't do it alone. So I really have like thousands of people in my database of people who wanted to run for politics, but I couldn't or didn't know how to. I want to be their answer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Peter, for this conversation. It has been inspiring and humbling and so nice to see the plans that you have for the future.
Sure, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.